In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt podcast,
we're coming live from the Southwest Motorhome and Caravan Show with some industry insiders.
In the news, save on your last-minute tickets for the big one, the Motorhome and Caravan Show at the NEC.
And we answer your questions on IQ Go and their updates, plus buying a new motorhome and sterilising your water tanks.
Welcome to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights, expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and campervans, all brought to you by thatleisureshop.com.
Now remember, please do follow on your favourite podcast app, and remember to click subscribe and the little bell on YouTube, brought to you by arabasecreative.co.uk.
Let's delve into the news then, shall we, Matt? The Motorhome and Caravan Show 2024 at the NEC. It starts tomorrow. I've got me little case packed.
What have you got? What have you put in your case?
Sandwiches.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, underpants.
Clean ones.
Wrap the sandwiches in the underpants.
Lovely. What's inside your socks? Don't answer that.
Can't say. You never know, I might get lucky.
Oh dear. And you're there Wednesday and Thursday.
I am indeed. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. I've been told I can't bring a chair to take the weight off the old, legs, because we've got so much stuff that we're going to be flogging.
We are. We're going to be selling some Motorhome Matt approved products on the stand. Do come along and check us out. We're in Hall 9, stand 32. 9.32 is the stand number. And Mrs. Motorhome Matt is being punished by being put on the stand all week. Bless her. She is a superhero. So go and say hi to Jude. I'll be on the stand throughout the day, every day. And I'm on an expert panel at 11:45 every day as well, which will be an exciting little feature at the show. Always really good fun to do. And so if you've got questions and you want to come along and ask a little team of experts, then you can come along to the main stage, 11:45 each day.
Sounds great. Don't forget, that's Hall 9, stand 32, so 9.32. Always happy to see you. Come up and say hello, shake a hand, have a selfie. It's going to be great.
It's always good fun. Yeah, it's a big week. It's like our annual holiday in Birmingham. Twice a year we go. Now, if you haven't got your tickets here, you can save some money on your ticket as well. Did you know that? I
didn't know that. You can save with the code MATT. That's Matt in capitals at mhmp.info/NEC show. That's Matt. That is the code that you put in. And the site you go to is mhmp.info/NEC show.
There we are. We'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by Ripe, motorhome and campervan insurance designed to give you protection quickly, easily and at a competitive price. If you need to chat over the phone, the specialists at their UK call centre are ready to answer any questions. Aside from the competitive pricing, one standout feature of Ripe is they cover campervan conversions, even if the DVLA don't class them as a motor caravan. You simply run through the conversion with them to ensure it matches their criteria. Getting set up with your cover online is easy, and the customer service is fantastic throughout the process. To start your quote, click the link in the episode description and enjoy a 15% discount off your premium. Or give them a call and say Motorhome Matt to get your 15% discount over the phone.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
It's our product of the week. What should we be doing this week then, Matt?
Well, winter's coming. And
winter draws on.
It does indeed. You've got yours on already.
Yeah.
So I'm always getting asked the question, Matt, what should I do to prepare my motorhome campervan caravan for the winter? And we produced a little guide that explains exactly and unpacks what you should do to make sure your pride and joy stays safe throughout the cold months of winter. Just go to thatleisureshop.com/winter and you can download a free PDF ebook that we put together and a checklist as well, so you can tick off all the things once you've done them. And there is a video there of me preparing a motorhome for winter too. So go to thatleisureshop.com/winter.
That's the only time he ever does the hoovering, bless him. A PDF ebook. Thatleisureshop.com/winter. That's where you're going to get it. Okay, the main topic of this week's podcast is the talk of the town, the talk of the industry has been what's going on in the industry at the moment. Matt, you have got the hot gossip.
The hot gossip?
Yes.
Well, I've been sharing my view recently. If you've been following the podcast, we did an episode on what's going on kind of in the industry at the moment. We're seeing dealers sadly closing. We're seeing massive discounts on windscreens. There's lots happening. It's a very much a sort of changing landscape. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if at the Shepton Mallet Show I could get a couple of big motorhome dealerships on stage and I can ask them some, maybe a few awkward questions, and we managed to pull it off.
Yeah, but did you get them on the stage?
We did.
Who did you talk to?
I was delighted to be able to get Sarah Ford from Southwest Motorhomes and Tom Lower from Somerset Motorhome Centre to join me on stage. Now, they're both well-known dealerships here in the Southwest, and they both have big stands at the Southwest Motorhome Caravan Show. And we also were joined by Peter Vaughan. Now, Peter works for Out and About Live and is the face of their YouTube channel. And Peter's been around in the industry forever, it seems. And yeah, there isn't much that Peter doesn't know about what's going on in the industry now, what's been happening and what's likely to happen. So it was an absolute joy that Warner's agreed I could invite these guys onto the stage for this session. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. I'm really chuffed that we've got a full room, because I was a bit worried that this might be perceived as a bit boring. Because when I pitched this idea to Michael, he asked me to unpack it a little bit more, because he was like, really, what are you going to talk about? This has never been done before. So this is a first for our industry as far as we are all aware. So could I ask you, please, to give a very warm welcome to my guests, Mr. Peter Vaughan from Out and About Live, a stalwart of the motorhome industry. That's code for the oldest man in the motorhome industry.
I'm not that old yet.
So, Peter, how many motorhomes do you reckon you've reviewed or been in?
A lot. I've been doing it, I've been actually driving motorhomes for 41 years. Started writing about them when I was 14. Currently I live in 2 different vans every month, but write about probably another 10 or a dozen a month on top of that. So it's hundreds, maybe thousands. I reckon
it's probably thousands, more than most of us will ever see by going to every show. So thanks for joining us on this. Can I get you to give a very big, warm welcome as well, please, to the lovely Sarah Ford from Southwest Motorhomes. Welcome, Sarah. Come on up. Now, we're not sure if this is true, but I said to you, accused you of being the only woman motorhome dealership owner in the UK. Is that true?
Well, it could be.
Come forward a bit.
Sorry, it could be. I think there's another lady up in Northumberland. But yeah, no, we make a good effort in the Southwest.
Yeah, that's very good. And how long has Southwest Motorhomes been in business?
So we've been in business 18 years.
It's a long time. And how many motorhomes do you reckon you've sold?
So we do about 120 a year. We're not a massive dealer. We like to keep it quite small and close.
And whereabouts are you based?
So we're based in Ilminster, just down the road. It's about 40 minutes from here, down the 303.
Brilliant. And of course, you're here today with a lot of stock, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And can I get you to give a warm welcome to the very beautiful Mr. Tom Lower, a celebrity in our midst from Somerset Motorhome Centre. Tom, you've been doing this a long time, man and boy. How long have you been in this industry?
I started in the industry when I was 21.
So 10 years ago.
I'll try and let you work that out. 32 years ago.
And now you're based on the A303.
That's right.
And I mean, how long has Somerset Motorhome Centre been going?
We opened up in January 2009.
Yeah.
Just my wife and I.
And you've got a bigger team than that now.
Yeah, she left after 3 weeks. And
that long?
Yeah. And there's about 20 of us. We've got a workshop as well, which does all our servicing and preparation work for the sold vehicles.
Now, to give some context to these guys, Tom specialises in selling used motorhomes, and Sarah specialises in selling new and used. And you both do a bit of servicing. And of course, Peter comes at this from the world of journalism, working for Out and About Live and MMM magazine, and runs the YouTube channel. So what I wanted to do today is kind of lift the bonnet, as it were, on this industry. It's been a turbulent few years, hasn't it? So just a little bit of insight into you, our audience, for these guys' benefit. How many of you here own a motorhome? Pretty much everyone. How many of you here are here to buy a motorhome? Right, Tom's looking beady-eyed around there. Most of them are keeping their arm bags. Now, we are going to rush through this because Tom and Sarah both want to get back to their stands because they want to sell you and others a motorhome. So we are going to keep this on point. But what I want to do is to take a little look kind of at the past 5 years of what the heck has been going on. The pandemic came and none of us could trade. Supply chain collapsed. Demand went through the roof. Prices went sky high. Screen prices are still really high, but now there seems to be lots of discounts. There seems to be loads of stock about. We're on a landscape where we've got motorhome businesses going out of bust, going into liquidation. What is going on? So are you prepared to join me to ask these guys some insights on this? Okay. I think this is going to be fun. So I've got some questions, and then we're going to open up the floor so you guys can ask some questions too. I would ask, though, please don't throw them under the bus. If you've had a problem with a motorhome you bought from Tom, I know it's highly unlikely, or Sarah. No, I picked on you. Keep that to outside. They would love to talk to you about that, I'm sure, afterwards. Let's keep this focused on the industry. I've promised them that I would, so that's really important. So I've got some notes here and some questions to keep me on track because I'll end up going down a rabbit hole otherwise. So, Tom, I want to start with you, with the used market. It's been a turbulent time over the past 5 years. What's been your experience?
I think obviously when COVID came along, none of us had any idea what was going to happen. We were all told to shut our businesses, send the staff home, and whilst a lot of people quite enjoyed that, I think I spent the first few weeks sat at home wondering what was going to happen and whether that was the end of everything. The signs came very quickly with phone calls and emails through to the website that there was still there seemed to be an increase in interest in motorhomes all of a sudden. And then when we were allowed to open up the doors again, it was unpredictable and just something we'd never experienced before. People were buying vans off the website without even seeing them, and that does still happen occasionally, but this was sort of people couldn't travel, so they were ringing up, they were looking at videos online, placing a deposit on the vehicle, flying down or driving down and picking it up a week or so later. So the demand was incredible. And then we started noticing that the prices were going up. We don't only sell used, so we don't sell new, but the new vehicle prices during the COVID period were going up and up and up. Customers were coming to us saying they can't get a brand new one. They were being quoted 2-year delivery on almost all vehicles. So therefore, the year-old vehicle was starting to increase in price because people couldn't get a new one. So they were saying, okay, well, we'll find a year-old one with 2,000 miles on it. And you'll speak to lots of people as you walk around the show, people that bought a van in 2017, 2018, and they'll tell you outright that, 3 years later they were offered more, thousands of pounds more for that vehicle than they paid for it in pre-COVID. And the same happened in the car industry as well. Anybody with a car knows that they were getting off. They had dealers ringing them up asking to buy the car back for £5,000 more than they paid for it. What we're seeing now, and it sort of happened in the last 12 months, is the supply of new is readily available. And I think we all knew that was going to happen, but I, for one, was amazed at how quickly it happened. It seemed to happen overnight, that 1 minute everyone was being told 18 months delivery, and the next minute they're being told, we can get one of them 6 weeks later. But the new prices have gone up drastically over the 4 or 5 years, and of course that pushes up the used prices, because anything used, to get a valuation on it, you compare it to what the equivalent would be new today, and that's why the used prices have gone up.
That's a really good insight. Let's get you to come forward a bit, then everyone can see you and we'll space out so you can't punch each other. Because Sarah, I want to come to you. Come step forward a bit. So Tom says that new was becoming very difficult to get hold of. That must have had a massive impact on your business post-pandemic. If you got nothing to sell, how do you pay the bills? What was going on for you?
So we actually got down to 4 vehicles for sale in the COVID years. So it was really tough for us. We're a small family business. There's about 8 of us who work there. We really focused on service work, so we picked up a lot of service work. And I'll be honest, we were selling off vans that were not in the UK yet, so we were doing a lot of pre-orders. But yeah, no, it was interesting times for sure.
And were you one of those dealers telling people that you were going to have to wait 2 years before you can get their van?
Yeah, so some of our suppliers, we were 18 months. We've actually just only this month got our last pre-sold Malibus that have come in now, ready for collection.
Now, you're mainly a European or only a European manufacturer, seller of new. So just list out some of the brands so we can be familiar with them.
Yeah, cool. So we sell Detlef, Malibu and Sunlight. We've stuck with the German European vehicles. As a smaller business, we want quality and reliability.
So many of these have been built on Fiat for years. There's a lot been changed there. The front badge has become typically Ford or MAN. What impact has that had for you as a business?
So what's really interesting is we stayed with Fiat. Even in the COVID times, there was a move to some of the new vans were coming on Citroens. They haven't been good retailers. So we've stayed away from Ford as well. We stuck with what we knew. Interesting, just coming back from Dusseldorf, the push now is to Mercedes. So that's quite exciting.
But more expensive again.
Indeed, but I think when we're talking about vehicles now coming in at 100, 120, our customers are looking for them to be more like a car with all the lovely things you'd get on a normal car. So that tends to be the way we're going at the moment.
So, Tom, I'm going to come back to you before I come for you for a comment, Peter. So new vans then, this is looking down Sarah's telescope at the future, because you need to know what's going on, because in a year or 3 years' time, it starts impacting your business. What Sarah's saying is that used vans are going to be typically built on a Merc chassis, and they're going to have cost 120, 150, even 200K. What impact is that going to have for you in terms of funding that used van when someone comes to you and says, will you buy my van off me? How are you going to pay for it?
Well, that certainly made a difference during COVID. If a dealer's got £500,000 worth of stock, and all of a sudden every van is worth £10,000-15,000 more, then their stock levels reduce because they're having to invest more of their money into the stock. I think that the vans, the new vans that are being sold today, and so many of them are out there at £100,000 plus, the value on those in 2 or 3 years' time is probably going to hold up really well. But it just means that a lot of dealers have funding. You know, not all dealers have, every dealer's different, but not all dealers have the money in the bank to go and buy the stock. Some of them have them on a funding line, which is supplied by a finance company. So, you know, the finance companies have had to move with the times as well and increase those funding lines to match the market.
So for you and your wife, your exposure is much greater then as a small family-owned business.
It is, yeah. Like any business, really, any business that sells things, the key isn't necessarily the selling; it's the buying. If you can buy the vehicle right, sell it, and everything sells at the right price. Every time we have a vehicle in stock that's been in stock for far too long, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. It's just priced wrong. So it's all in the buying and getting the right price on the screen of it. And during COVID, like I say, those 2 or 3 years completely changed the rule book. Because things were so different. But we have, as an industry, we have gone back to normality now. We've gone back to the way it was in 2019 pre-COVID. But I think the market is still strong. You've only got to look at the amount of people that are here this weekend that Warners get to these shows. And every time you speak to a customer, nobody's saying, oh, we're not really interested, we've just come for a day out. Everyone has got a story of whether they're buying now, whether they're buying in 2 years' time, whether they're looking for the retirement. Everybody's still got that itch of having a motorhome and doing the travelling. And I think whilst traveling the world becomes, sometimes can be like a dangerous place, motorhoming will carry on being a really popular way to holiday.
Yeah, and it's very expensive going abroad. I've got 4 kids. We've just done a week in Cornwall because it was cheaper, and that was still $4,500 to rent a house in Mousehole. It's the most expensive UK holiday we've ever done, but probably the last one I get to do with all 4 of my children as they're all growing up. Peter, I want to come to you. You've just come back from Caravan Salon in Dusseldorf. And which is a huge exhibition. If you ever get the chance to go, it is amazing. It is like no other show you've been to, I promise. But you hear what these guys are saying about new. So Sarah's saying Mercedes is becoming very popular. Lots of other makes are being introduced as well. But prices just seem to keep climbing. What were you seeing in Dusseldorf? What can we expect to see in the next few years as a result of that show?
One thing I would say to start with is backing up what Tom says, there's no shortage of interest in the market despite the prices. Dusseldorf was heaving, and it was noticeable that we normally go on the weekdays for photography and filming when it's quieter. There was no quiet day. It was heaving every day. So the prices aren't stopping people buying, but they are still going up. There seems to be a move towards Mercedes four-wheel drives. It's quite niche, but they're typically 150 grand and upwards, and every manufacturer seems to be adding one to its portfolio now. The rest of the market, is much the same. And there's lots of new product this coming season, more than we've seen for a couple of years, because they couldn't get the chassis to launch new vehicles. But talking to one of the UK manufacturers recently, he said, not so long ago they'd order new vehicles from Stellantis, Fiats and Peugeots and so on, and they had no idea really when they were going to arrive. Now, if they get a chassis order that's a bit of a special order because of the spec, they put that order into Stellantis, and Stellantis come back and say, we're building that tomorrow. So they have to be a bit careful what they're ordering. That delay with those Fiat chassis is gone.
Well, that's good news if you're in the market to buy a new motorhome, isn't it? Sarah, is that your experience, that Stellantis, who own Fiat, Peugeot and Citroën, are you finding if you order a vehicle for a customer that we're back to the old days of it's here in 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, so we are. We've ordered all for our chassis for 2025 already. We've gone heavy into automatics. That seems to be the way people are going. The 9-speed, I think Tom drove one the other day, the 9-speed automatic. It's really lovely, very smooth. So we're heavy into that. But yeah, if you were to come to us and want a debt left for next year, we'd probably be looking March, April time. That's
amazing news, isn't it? That's good news. So, but in terms of price, Sarah, there's some industry instability right now. So it's well publicised that some household names like Barnsdale Leisure, many other dealers have now decided to close their doors and go into liquidation for lots of reasons, and which we won't dive into now because some of it's quite tedious. But on that landscape where there's uncertainty, and we're seeing discounts in windscreens again. I noticed you had some of your stock is here today with a discount on £5,000 off here at the show. Go and have a look. But in that landscape, is it a safe time to buy a motorhome now? Because aren't the prices going to keep coming down?
I think what's helped the new market is the discounts are not necessarily coming from the dealer, the discounts are coming from the manufacturer. What's happened with going into 2025, obviously we know October NEC is coming along. There's been great movement in the market for new products, shorter vans, different spec, different chassis. The manufacturers are trying to clear anything that's 24 related out of the shop window so they can push forward with, the higher prices for 2025 and clean the slate. So that's where a lot of the manufacturers, Detlef have offered us specials, Sunlight have, Malibu has offered us discounts on some of the packs to clean the plate so they can go forward again for 2025 with the new vehicles in October.
So what you're saying there's some cracking deals to be had on new this year, but prices are going to go up next year.
I think historically, always prices will go up in October. I think the push to the more expensive chassis, which is actually what we are being asked for, the Mercedes, will have a knock-on effect. But I think if you buy it right and you're not looking to change it quickly, you've got to expect to have a van for 2 or 3 years and you'll still have value in the vehicle, for sure.
That's really good advice. So, Sarah, what impact does that has then for you on the used value? So if the new are coming down, surely that's pushing the value of the used down. Are you ever in a position where you're losing money on a used motorhome?
Hope not.
Well, we of course hope not. But if this is true what you're saying, and I can believe it is, and we read that it's true, what impact is that having on used values? I'm going to ask you the same, Tom, in a minute.
So don't get me wrong. There are dealerships that have been caught out. There are dealerships that have guaranteed prices on used and that are having to honour that and have lost out money because they've egged up the used market maybe October last year. And we've seen that in the fallout in the industry. There's something wrong with some cash flow somewhere. However, we tend to buy what we know. We know what sells. We're really realistic about pricing. We do good service. We help with accessories. And, we want to be part of your motorhome family going forward.
Love that. Thank you, Sarah. Tom, same question to you on this used pricing. With new coming down this year, what impact is that having on you?
Our best-selling vehicles during COVID, as I said, were vehicles that were a year old with 2,000 miles on it. We're being a bit cautious at the moment because even this weekend, a dealer next to us here at the show this morning has gone on to some of his new vehicles and just put £6,000 off. Now, I agree with Sarah that's not necessarily a discount that the dealer's giving. A high amount of that has been supplied to him by the manufacturer because it's really important for the manufacturer to get their dealer network moving the 24 vehicles out because they've got 25 vehicles coming off production line in a minute and they don't want to be ringing up their dealer and saying, right, you've got your 25 models ready now, and he's saying, I can't take them because I've still got 24. So the manufacturer does come to the party a little bit with am I right, to help the dealers start moving out the 24 stuff. But I think we're going through a period of a 2 year. Sarah worded it lovely just now, of like clearing the decks. The dealers need to move the 24 stuff out, the 25 stuff needs to come through. And I think I've heard recently that a couple of manufacturers on the 25 vehicles are now throwing in packs of stuff. For example, if you configure a 24 vehicle online, let's say it comes to £85,000 with all the extras you want, you can now configure a 25 vehicle, and it actually is the same or maybe slightly less, because the manufacturer doesn't want to actually start discounting his vehicles, but they'll discount the accessories and do like an accessory pack to throw it in. It makes it look better value for money. So we are going through a couple of years of clearing the decks, and the dealers, we're not a big company. We keep about 60, 70 used vehicles in stock. Sarah's a family business like we are. But I've been in the industry for a long, long time, and I know most of the dealers around the country. And some of them that have been going for a long time are really concerned about the period they're going through. The manufacturers have also, I hope there's no manufacturers here. The manufacturers also, I think, have pushed a lot of vehicles into dealers that have been waiting a long time for stock, and they've been very patient waiting for stock, and all of a sudden they're ready and they're just firing vehicles into them left, right and centre. So, they've got their job to do to move their vehicles out the factory, but I don't think they've been particularly helpful sometimes.
No, that's true. Sarah, I'm going to give you a question which I haven't briefed you on, but I know you'll be happy answering it. So there's loads of rhetoric on Facebook. Keyboard warrior saying the dealers have been making tons of money and I have no sympathy for them at all. But what you've both just said is that the perception that there's £7,000 or £10,000 off a vehicle makes you as the dealer look like you had that money in your pocket. You had that profit there. So what is the manufacturer not causing you an issue with your own PR where actually you didn't have that profit there to discount? It's coming from the manufacturer.
So let's make no bones about it. We are here to make money. Sorry, guys, that's what we're here. Tom has a family to feed, and I do as well. I would say that, yes, we do make money off the vans. Do not underestimate the cost of running a motorhome dealership, the stocking plans, the finance lines, the customer service. Tom's 20 people on his payroll. I'd hate to pay that. It is something we do. But yes, we probably have made good money on the vehicles. But they do cost us to stock and to support.
Are these lovely manufacturer discounts causing you an aftermath?
No, not really. So we're quite unique. We haven't got 300 vehicles in stock. We've got hand-selected vehicles that I personally order with the right spec on, with the right fabrics, with everything that I would want myself. I think on that basis, we do have short stocking days.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just clarify that then. Thank you. You can breathe again now. She's holding her breath through all of that. Peter, I want to talk to you about something that's a bit prickly. So it was announced on Friday night that Swift, we're all familiar with Swift, aren't we? They've just laid off 130 of their staff on the end of play Friday. It went out in the press Friday evening. That's over 13% of their workforce. At a manufacturing level, and you have a really good view of this as a journalist that spends a lot of time with the manufacturers, Eldis are the same. They're in massive. They've lost 11 million quid. What is the future like for manufacturers? We're going to see manufacturers start going bust. Are they going to start shrinking? What's your kind of crystal ball?
I think my concern is a lot of the manufacturers over the last couple of years that have been constantly talking about, we can build more, we're extending factories, we're going to double production, this sort of thing. And it was unrealistic to expect the growth in the market to continue at the rate it was. But I think they're being much more realistic now. They're seeing slowdown across Europe. And the UK market is actually now seen as one of the strongest in Europe. The demand here is still really, really good, whereas in Germany it has tailed off considerably. There's a lot of stock out there, and manufacturers, I think, have realised that, and they're slowing down the production of 2025 models. A lot of them are having days or periods when they're not opening the factory or they're laying off staff. So it's not just a UK. Not just a UK issue. Some of the massive German manufacturers like Knaus Tabbert are in the same sort of boat.
So is that going to have a knock-on effect into 2025 and 2026? Bear in mind, they're producing 25 now. I mean, they're trying to deliver them into the UK. We'll see them in October at the Birmingham show where all the new models are, and you'll see deals on 24 now here today for that reason. But is that going to have a knock-on effect into the next couple of years then?
I think so, yes, and I think the market hasn't grown at the rate some of the manufacturers would have liked. We've talked about discounts on 2024s, and I think if you're not the sort of person that has to have the latest thing, then what a fantastic time to buy and get the sort of advantage of those 2024 prices. 2025 models generally will be more expensive because the chassis are getting more and more sophisticated. They're being forced by legislation to put more and more safety kit into the vehicles, and that's just pushing the prices up and up. I was talking to a specialist 4x4 motorhome manufacturer the other day, and he's been told that his Sprinters are just about to go up by £8,000. That's before he cuts a hole in the side for a window or does.
That's just the van.
Just the van will go up by £8,000 because of extra kit on it.
Wow. So I was going to ask you guys to unpack a little bit. Is now a good time to buy a motorhome? It seems the answer is very much yes. That's fascinating. Now, Sarah, you agreed to let me ask you this. We're an industry, I'm quoting someone else here, that is not known for great after-sales service. So anyone agree with that? See, I told you. The problem is, right, I live in Cornwall and I've bought a van in Perth in Scotland, right? And I take it home and the fridge door comes off and the sink leaks and the tap leaks and a cupboard rattles. And I want to take it to you because you're respectable, you're a family business, you're not too far from me, you're only 2 or 3 hours from me, and it's a death left and you're a death left dealer, but you tell me I have to go back to Perth. Why?
So with the warranty work, when we haven't sold the vehicle, we get, Detlef is one of the particular brands where you get a standard warranty rate. So standard warranty rate includes my admin cost to process a warranty claim, the cost of import duty to get the parts into the UK, and the cost of my staff doing the job itself. So when you take all that in, when you come to me with your brand new Detlef that you've bought in Perth and given them your 10 grand, not me. Okay.
10 grand?
Well, whatever margin there is in it. Whatever margin there is
you're
in
talking
it.
margin.
Yes,
right.
Margin.
Yes, it's a 1982. I'll tell you more than the fridge doors rattling.
You won't make it back to Perth.
So your 10 grand margin.
So when you think about, we're talking about a 7 or 10 grand margin hypothetically on these vehicles, okay? So there is no profit, there is no margin whatsoever in me assisting you. Now, the industry, there's only one manufacturer I know that will give me full retail workshop rate to carry out warranty repairs. Obviously, that's Malibu and Carthago, everybody.
So they will pay your rack rate to do warranty work?
So I can take in any Malibu and Carthago and they will pay me the full industry, my full retail rate to fix it because they want a network.
So if my Perth bought motorhome is a Carthago, you will look after it, though I bought it somewhere else?
Yeah, happy to help you. Please feel free to have our courtesy car as well.
See, I think for any manufacturer, maybe you don't agree, but surely for any manufacturer that does that, they're going to win the day. Wouldn't that affect your buying decision? Did you know this about Carthago and Malibu? So why aren't they telling us? This is amazing.
Yeah, so what I would say is, I don't know about Tom, but I buy all my cars from local Southwest dealer. I go to the same one. What about?
Tom, tell us about your experience of warranty and this issue that is perceived by the consumer. You heard the resounding yes, get them under the microscope, Matt. But what is your experience of warranty claim?
I think my experience before I set up my own business was working for a main dealer that did a lot of new vehicles. And if you think as a customer dealing with a dealer is hard work sometimes, you've got no idea as a dealer dealing with a manufacturer what it's like. Back in those days, they were paying less than half of the labour rate. And the manufacturer used to say, well, we're only giving you a very small labour rate to look after warranty because you made profit on the vehicle. Now, that was sort of okay for a while, but as the profit started to reduce, that's why if you go to a dealer local to you, even though you bought it in Scotland, they don't want to help. That was news to me about Carthago and Malibu. That's brilliant. And if every manufacturer did that, but from a manufacturer's point of view, an hourly rate in most motorhome workshops, £100 an hour, £80 an hour. So if they all of a sudden have got to change someone's window because it's got a crack in it, and that's going to take a guy 6 or 7 hours to do it, then the manufacturer's then got to pay them 700 quid plus the window. So all of a sudden the figures just, nothing sort of stacks up. I think, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, if I was buying a motorhome, I'd buy it locally. Buy it near someone. The amount of times we have people come to us and say, oh, we bought this vehicle, we were at the NEC and we bought a brand new vehicle, and to be honest with you, the guy was lovely, but it wasn't until we signed the order form we realised he was in Scotland. But that's okay, because he said he'll give us fuel money to go up and get it. Oh, lovely, okay, so they go and get it and come back again. And then the fridge catch breaks, or they can't get the cushion lined up, or something, like a break-it in session in the new vehicle, and they can't find anybody locally that wants to help them because the dealers locally are busy looking after their customers. So my biggest tip would, whether it's new or used, buy locally, because there's so much stuff that can go wrong and does go wrong, unfortunately, on new and used. And people often say, oh, you'll love this, Sarah. People say to me, well, we're going to buy a new one because we don't want anything to go wrong.
That's a reason to buy a second-hand one, Tom.
And that should be the case when you're spending 80, 90, 100,000 pounds. But the thing is still put together by hand. The fridge is still the same in a 120,000 pound vehicle as it is in a 70,000 pound vehicle. So all these things do go wrong, and especially when it's travelling down the road for the first time and everything moves around. And if all of a sudden you get one or two things like that happen, and you ring up your dealer and he says, yeah, of course, pop over. What day's best for you? Come over on Thursday. Yeah, we'll be in Thursday morning. They're only 15 miles away. It's no problem. We'll drop it in there and let them have a look at it. If you've got to take a day off work then to travel 3 hours up the road to get it done, it's, I remember working at the NEC many years ago selling new vehicles, and really I always ever thought there should be on every stand there should be a big map of the country with a little flag of where all the dealers are. So when you're walking onto the Cartago stand and you live in Taunton, you can go on there and go, right, Taunton, Sarah from Southwest, can we speak to her please, because we want to buy it from her. But they won't do that because the manufacturer likes to have this bun fight.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I've been in that. I've treaded the boards, as it was, at the NEC as a dealer, and I was selling Adria product, and they did do that. They put a big map, and as dealers, we wanted it. Yeah. And as dealers, we're all pretty friendly bunch. As Adria dealers, they tend to be a friendly network. And if someone said, oh, I'm from Perthshire, I'd say, oh, come over and speak to Struns, because they're only up the road from me 4 hours away, whereas I'm 10 hours away. So don't talk to me. But this is a really good insight into how that show works, because here you go on a dealer stand, you walk on Tom's stand, you're on the Somerset Motorhome Centre stand, same with Sarah, you know where they are, you know who you're talking to. At the NEC, it's a manufacturer paid for stand, and all the dealers are on there, often dressed the same. So make sure if you're going to that show, you ask them, where are you based? And if you find you're in Cornwall, they're in Perth, reconsider and say, can I speak to my local dealer? Really good advice as how that works. Sarah, I just want you to share with me something you said earlier to me about warranty claiming and buying locally.
So we are really fortunate in the West Country. You don't need to go very far to find Chelston, Devan, Highbridge.
Tom used to work for Chelston.
Somerset. You have a plethora of all the brands here in the Southwest. Why travel out of it?
Yeah. And if that dealer, though, in the north is offering you £7,000 or £8,000 off, and I want to buy a Cartago because their after sales is amazing. I heard it at the Shepton Mallet Show. But you're not offering the same deal. What do you suggest me as the consumer does? Should I pick up the phone and say, look, Sarah, come on, let's talk turkey. I can buy it £4,000 cheaper, 400 miles away. What would you say?
So I'd say come and talk to us. I mean, we can't promise we can do everything. However, it's what is the value of having someone half an hour away that will fit you in on a Friday afternoon when you want something fixed and help you. We're happy to help, but speak to us and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Sarah. Right, just before we open the floor up to questions, and I'm going to, are you ready? You prepared? Peter, I want to just quickly future gaze. So longer term, we've talked about what's gone on in the past. We've talked about what's happening now, which I think you'll agree is pretty interesting, isn't it, with values right now. What's your view about what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? If I buy a motorhome now and I'm going to keep it for 10 years, which we all know never happens because we get distracted by wonderful shows like this. But is it a good time to buy now and bearing in mind 8-9 years' time?
I think so. I can't see massive changes. I mean, electric motorhomes are cloud cuckoo land still at the moment. The vehicles seem to be getting a little bit smaller, possibly lighter. We're seeing a lot more compact coach builds, which I think is a really interesting trend at the moment, to try and get everything that you want into a 3.5 ton, narrower bodied vehicle. I think that's a great way forward, because our roads are getting more crowded. We're potentially paying more for fuel. I see this talk at the moment at road pricing. I think these new smaller motorhomes that are coming out are a great way forward, and I can't see that things are going to change that rapidly. We're not going to see electric vans anytime soon.
No, I think I agree. Electric vans they're kind of a long way off, but they're coming. But we're just not ready for it, is the truth, as an industry. But in terms of values, I buy it now, and we joke about the 1982 Death Left. That's still probably worth 15 grand. Well, on Tom's forecourt it'd be 22, but he probably paid 8 for it. But seriously though, I mean, a van like that, it's hard to find anything for less really than sort of 10, 12k nowadays, isn't it? Long term, Peter, what do you think is going to happen with values? Are we safe to buy one now?
I think so. I'm not seeing any great change in values. I know my own van I bought just as we went into lockdown, and I think it's worth pretty much what I paid for it, although my wife racks up the miles on it because she uses it as a daily vehicle. I think it's a great time to buy.
Brilliant. That's good to have your insight, because Peter has a very holistic and helicopter view of the industry, talking to everybody at every level. So I'm encouraged. So thank you for that. So let's brave it. I'm going to turn the lights on and we're going to pass a mic round. Please, I would ask, would you put your arm up and just tell us where you are in the country, home that is, don't all say Shepton Mallet, and wait for the microphone, because I'm hoping that with these guys' permission, we can put this out on the Motorhome Map podcast as a future episode, because I think it's been really interesting. So please wait for the mic, then we can record the question. So do we have a question for, yes, we've got several. Darren, go for it.
So Darren from Essex, but I live in my motorhome. So as the prices are going up for new ones, I've got bought used. As they're getting more expensive, so they're going into that 100,000 plus, do you think people are going to be keeping them a lot longer, so they're not going to be giving them away after the 2-3 years to trade in, so they're going to be harder to find, so you're going to be buying 5, 6, 7-year-old motorhomes more because people are keeping them longer because of the bigger investment?
Tom's going to answer with, I hope so. So I'm going to come to Sarah first.
So I think what I'm finding, particularly with the ranges I sell, is they're a much more bespoke purchase. We're not just going, here's a deck left, would you like to buy it? We're going, here's a deck left, what would you like in it? How can I build it for you? How can I make it the right van for you? How can I put lithium batteries in? How are you going to use it? And I think when you're purchasing a motorhome on that basis, you do tend to keep it longer.
One of the things I've observed, talking to lots of friends of mine who are dealers, including these guys, is that you're all taking a lot longer to make a purchasing decision. That's the perception of the trade. Is that your experience, Tom?
I think again, going back to the COVID years, people were making a decision over the phone, and we got used to that and a bit comfy with that. So when someone says they just want to go and have a walk around and have a think about it, we get a bit cross with you. You've probably noticed that, have you? But yeah, no, it's gone back to normality where people like to have a think about it and have a walk around. But as for your question reference to values, I think you're probably right. It's a good point that if people are spending, it's a percentage. If they're spending £120,000 now and changing it in a year's time, do they want to chuck another load of tens and £20,000 at it? Whereas a few years ago they were spending 50,000 and they might have to put 10,000 in a year's time to change it. So we might see people hanging on to them a little bit longer. But also, I think if people are spending 120, 130,000, it's unlikely for it to be their first purchase. They've probably been through 2 or 3 used vehicles by then to finalise exactly what they want. So,
very good. Thank you, Darren. Another question. Thanks, Michael.
Hi, Mick from Jersey. If I sold you my motorhome, which is a 2022, barely a damn more, would you take into consideration the extras I had fitted in the price you'd give me? Or do people just forget the extras and just give you the book price?
So I can tell you that Mike's had auto levelling. He's had pretty much every box ticked on the extras list, having seen his Adamo. So extras, do they carry a second-hand value?
There's certain extras that do. If we have someone that says, oh, mine's got an awning, a bike rack, an external gas barbecue point, not really, because the majority of used vehicles out there have those accessories on it. A good satellite TV system can add some pricing to it, because if I was going out with my family to buy a motorhome and there were two identical and one had a top of the range sat system on it and the other one didn't, would I expect to pay a bit more for that one? Yeah, probably.
What about levelers?
Yeah.
Which are £5,500.
So I'm just repeat that into the mic for us, Mike.
Sorry. Automatic levelers were about £5,500, some £6,500. That's a lot of money just to throw away if you're not going to give any money back.
Do you want me to be genuinely honest?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah. Would you agree? If you're on maybe, I mean, we've got a Mervy on the stand which we bought literally this week, and we did buy that from another dealer. And when it arrived at the show here, we didn't realise it had automatic levelers on it, and it's got it on it, and they're lovely, and we're all playing with them. But have we put any more money on the price of the van that we were going to? No.
What could I take my extras off?
Yes.
And then sell you them?
Automatic levelers, no problem.
Would you give me the same price?
Say again?
Would you give me the same price?
Same price as what?
As if I take all my extras off?
Yes. Yeah, when I say, don't take the awning off.
No, I wouldn't take the, no, there'd be big holes left.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. If someone said to me, look, we want to sell you a van, this is all it's got on it, we give you a price. If you then turn around and said, one thing I didn't tell you is it's got automatic levelers, but I want to take them off, absolutely fine.
Okay, great.
Sarah, you wanted to jump in as well.
Yeah, so I would say we would be slightly keener to buy something with automatic levelers that's fully spec, because they are easier for us to sell. But I would say the benefit of those automatic levelers really would be down to your pleasure and enjoyment that you've had with them.
And of course, a consideration with kit like that is payload. Payload. Excuse me. A consideration is payload. So you've got loads of extras on it. The van ends up with no payload. A family of 4 can't buy it because they got to leave their least favourite at home. Sorry.
We upplated to make sure the weights were right. We're putting all that extra weights on it. So
Sarah was the best point there. If you're going to spend £5,500 on an accessory, make sure it's one that can be then transferred onto your next van. Otherwise, if you have 4 vans, you're going to be spending 20 grand on levelers.
Yeah, well, if they put it on the van, I'm sure they could take it off again.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Right, another question. Tell us your name and where you are.
Tim, I'm from Boston in Lincolnshire. I think this one is really directed towards Peter. We've seen massive inroads into the automotive market from Chinese manufacturers, almost buying market share. Do you envisage the Chinese will start to attack the leisure vehicle market?
This is a great question for a man who's just come back from Dusseldorf.
There was a company called Dedel RV that built mainly Iveco-based motorhomes in China. They were at Dusseldorf last year just testing the water. This year they have appointed dealers in Germany. Still an expensive product, but interesting because it's carbon fibre bodied rather than GRP. It could happen, but this industry is quite conservative and the buyers tend to be quite conservative. So, if somebody converts some weird base vehicle that nobody's ever heard of, a Maxus or something, people tend not to buy it. They want a Merc or a Fiat or...
But interestingly, we've got a large transport company near us that's just converted to Maxis vans on the basis that the cost saving for capital purchase was so great, even if they suffered an increased failure rate, it would still be financially viable. So I think we are seeing changes in the way people think of the Chinese as manufacturers in the main market.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly coming into cars. I mean, the electric car market, they're bringing in much cheaper electric cars than any of the traditional car brands can seem to match. But we're not seeing that yet in commercial vehicles. And even if we did, I think most of the buyers still prefer a Ford or a Mercedes or Fiat badge on the front of the vehicle and to buy it from a manufacturer of motorhomes that they know too.
Just to add, I think the motivation for the transport company near you is very different to that in this room from us buying a motorhome. I think that's a key point there. Sarah, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just did. So again, we were out in Dusseldorf. It's a great experience. If anyone gets a chance, I would 100% recommend it. There are lots more manufacturers out there than we deal with in the UK. We have tried to bring non-UK chassis into the UK. For us, it didn't work. I think you don't have to go too far with the Detlefs to see them on a Citroen. Sorry, Detlef. That hasn't worked. Citroën haven't got the infrastructure to service and support the vehicles, which is why we stayed with Fiat, because we have got really good ties with Vosper's in Exeter, and we can pull assistance around the UK from Fiat. So I'd just be mindful of your support network if you're buying un-industry known chassis.
Non-core.
Can I just add to that? I think one of the best things about the Fiat chassis is the Fiat Camper Assistance, which works anywhere in Europe. I have had to use it, and they, you phone up one phone number anywhere in Europe, and they'll speak to you in English and try and sort out your problem. And the other chassis manufacturers aren't quite at the same level with assistance.
Very true. Okay, another question. Joe at the front. Thanks, Michael. We're keeping you on your toes.
Not that we're planning on selling our converted motorhome, but if we did, what's the market like for selling something that's so bespoke? Because obviously, as you're both dealers, how would you do that, or would you not? Would you send us somewhere else?
So Joe is in a wheelchair, an amazing wheelchair that goes up and down, backwards and forwards, obviously, and leans back. It's incredible. And the motorhome's very adapted, so Joe can use it. And you go everywhere in it, don't you?
Yeah.
In the motorhome, that is. And your chair. So look out, because she's very good at running people over. But
That's a fallacy.
it's a valid question. Would you want to take on an adapted motorhome for somebody that's a wheelchair user, Sarah?
So there are some really big companies that deal with wheelchair adapted motorhomes. I'll be honest, it's not for us. We have no market in my business for self-conversions. I appreciate people have spent a lot of time. They've designed it exactly how they want it, and they love it dearly. But I can't. I've got brands that I work with. I've got industry regulated. We're NCC approved. We understand the wiring systems, etc., etc. However, your vehicle will have a massive demand for it because they're really hard to find.
Which is why we're not selling it. But I just thought
absolutely.
Just thought we'd find out what it's like for a normal manufacturer and a normal dealer in the eyes that if somebody came to them and didn't know all that, would they just be turned away, or would you just suggest this company, this company, this company, try them?
Yeah, so depending on the age of the vehicle, I'll be totally honest, Facebook, eBay, all those kind of avenues are fantastic. I don't know what Tom thinks, but I have no facility to take on home conversions, as I would call it.
What is your view? Well, this is not a home conversion.
No.
This is a professionally converted motorhome by Coach Built GB.
Your professional conversion has been adapted for your disability.
Actually was already adapted for somebody else's disability. We were just very lucky to be sent.
Tom, would you have an appetite to buy it second hand?
Funny enough, we did buy one that had a electric ramp in the back and everything, and sold it quite quickly. It's an odd one because for someone out there that wants your vehicle, they travel halfway around the world to get it because they can't find anything like it. But it's such a small market for a dealer to invest a lump of money into it. It could be 2 or 3 years before they sell it. My advice would be to speak to maybe a couple of the disability groups and do some advertising there, or give it to a dealer, and they'll probably suggest to leave it to you on what they call a brokerage basis, where they'll sell it for you. They can do some marketing and advertising on it and see how they get on. And if that's no good, then at least you can go away and take it away again and try yourself.
Thank you, because that will help other people.
Yeah. Also, the specialists in that type of motorhome that you've got, they are in touch with all the people that are looking for them. So they've actually got the audience that want to buy them, where these guys haven't necessarily. So you're like a niche within a niche. They call it a niche in America, and there are riches. Yeah, very special, Joe. There's riches in niches, and there are hitches in niches as well. So, yeah, you can keep that one. Right, another question. One at the back. See, it's always this side to this side. Michael's got to run.
We used to have a van that was done by a professional van converter, Sussex Camper Vans, to quote a name. And we found with our experience, we went to a couple of dealers we wanted to upgrade to something else. One dealer wouldn't touch it, another dealer did. Your comment about you wouldn't deal with van conversions, is that if they're just personal build ones, or?
So this is a professionally converted van. Yeah. So Sussex are a known brand.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I expand the question a bit? You didn't say where you're from. Where are you from?
Sussex.
Okay, so you bought locally. Good for you. Yeah. Top tip from today. But during the pandemic and after, there was van converters on every corner. It seemed. So Sussex Campers are a well-known, respected van converter. take the one on the corner that no one's heard of. Would you buy either?
So the one on the corner, the one that comes out of a workshop, which has been set up in the last couple of years, that is unbranded, so it hasn't got a recognised brand. We can't go on the internet and go, oh, look, he built that. We can't get any guidance on that for pricing or retailing. Unfortunately, as a small business, we can't help. But if it's branded, it's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah. And that's the advice, I think, is if you're looking for a van conversion, do your research. My personal advice is buy a branded van conversion. I think that corner of the market's under a lot of pressure at the moment because there are so many in the market. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I think...
Well, I told you we need to separate them.
Your vehicle from Sussex Motor Caravans is a brand that we know, so that certainly wouldn't be a problem to us. I agree with Matt in that buy a brand. We get a lot of people come up to us and saying, yeah, will you buy my vehicle? Okay, what is it? It's a VW 2018. It's done 90,000 miles. Who converted it? Jeff. Oh, right. But which company was it? Oh, we don't know. It's just Jeff. He did it in his garage. It's not worth very little. The van has obviously got a value, but us as dealers need to have a brand name on the side of it. It needs to come with the certificates. We need to know that manufacturer has done crash testing or whatever on it. Someone like me that's been in the industry for so long, whatever it is, we'll never say no to anything, because even if we don't want it, I've probably got someone I can outlet to it that deals in, the lower end stuff, if you like. So we never say no to anything, but try. Yeah, I agree. Try and buy a brand. And Sussex is a brand, so that shouldn't have been a problem. But these homemade conversions and things like that, they're all very attractive because of the price of it. They've normally done lots and lots of miles. So it's been an ex-delivery van for a grocery company, and there's no history on it. So most dealers would shy away from that.
The interesting end of the tale on our one was the dealer. We bought an house in the end, and we sold our van, did the trade into the dealer. Sussex Camper Vans then phoned up the dealer, gave them an extra $3,000 on top to take it back onto their forecourt.
Well,
we were happy, but it's like
different dealers will have different sweet spots. So Coach Built GB are specialists in adapted motorhomes, and so it's finding a dealer that has a sweet spot for your van.
That's a really important point I was going to bring up just now. When your example about someone buying a van in Scotland and not buying it from somewhere in Somerset, sometimes you'll get a variation in part exchange price, and that happens around the country because certain dealers, there's maybe some dealer up north that absolutely loves tag axle vehicles. He can't get enough of them and will give you an extortionate amount of money for it because that's his market. Whereas you might come to a dealer somewhere else in the country that turns their nose up at tag axles because he's had a few problems with them and customers haven't got on with them. So, sometimes dealers do value vehicles differently. There's not like a car where there's a book guide or we buy any car, that's what it's worth and that's what it's worth. Sometimes it's a matter of finding the dealer that likes your particular van as well,
Absolutely. Peter, you wanted to jump in with a comment.
I just wanted to add on the sort of camper van sector, because there's so many brands have come into the market in the last few years, and the quality I see, particularly in the VW market, it varies enormously. So I would always ask the question as to whether the company type approves its conversions, and if they don't, why not?
Yeah, very good. That's a huge topic. Right, another question. One right at the back.
So probably have to be the last one, Matt.
Okay, so last question. Please remember to tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Peter Thomas, and I'm from Bridgend, South Wales.
We'd never have guessed.
Yeah, okay. Look, the question I ask is, like I say, over the years I've had 7 or 8 brand new motorhomes, and every time something have gone wrong with them, and the last one I had now, 18 months ago, was a Swift Voyager, a brand new van. Things went wrong with it, and I had to wait 7 months, had 8 months for parts. For a brand new van, it's ridiculous. And he was even off the road over Christmas for 2.5 months.
So what's your question, Peter?
Sorry?
What's your question?
Why, when they bring out a new van, do you have to wait so long for the parts?
So great. Okay, so, Sarah's going to say you shouldn't have bought Swift, given that she's not a Swift dealer. Yeah. You should have bought a Cartago. So why do we have to wait so long for parts, Sarah?
So I can't comment on Swift because I'm not a Swift dealer, but what I can tell you of my experience with parts, with the German brands we sell, we can get parts within 2-3 weeks. If they're generic parts, if it's a cupboard for a Malibu, they could be on 6 to 9 months because they're bespoke built by the German chap who biscuit joints all the cupboards and puts them all together.
And that person might be 3 or 4 people away in the supply chain from Deathlef as well, mightn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think It's a really interesting question if you're going to buy a van, is to find out about warranty. And though I take forums with a pinch of salt, you don't have to go very far to get people's opinion, but it is only their opinions and not one of the manufacturer or the retailer.
Tom, do you want to add anything to that on supply of parts?
I think during the COVID years, supply of parts for anything in the world was difficult, so whether that might have had a bit of an effect on it. But I know that manufacturers, if they're building 300 vehicles this week, they will buy in 300 cupboard doors. They don't like to put money into extra stock sat on the shelves just in case someone one day needs a cupboard door for that van. And as they're changing the styles every year, it's very quickly that door's is going to be out of date, and they're not going to be able to use it on the new production. So it depends on what part it is, but certainly it was more difficult during COVID.
Well, he had 7 Swifts, and I was fed up of them, and I've just bought a brand new Malibu A-Class.
Well, there you are, you see. From Sarah?
No.
No.
He was from Torquay, but...
He's from Torquay and he bought it in Perth.
But if I want his service, I might come down to Sarah.
Well, we've run out of time. I
would just say that when I first started doing motorhomes, the first van I sold was a Bedford CF 2.3 petrol with an auto-sleeper clubman on the back. Wow. And nothing went wrong with it.
And it's now worth 25k.
Because there was very little in it.
There was nothing in it to go wrong. And that's a big problem, isn't it, with the market we're in now. We're all demanding more and more facilities and features. Electric up and down beds are now commonplace. It wasn't that long ago they didn't exist. So, yeah, we're part of the problem as consumers, where we are demanding more and more of these accessories, and we're kind of a victim of our own demands in some way. But can I just say thank you, a massive thank you to Sarah from Southwest Motorhomes, to Tom from Somerset Motorhomes, and Peter Vaughan from Out About Life. You have been brilliant. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Thank you.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
And it's brought to you by thatleisureshop.com. That was a pretty fascinating insight and a brave performance as well by Sarah and Tom.
It was. Sarah took some coercing to do it, but wasn't she brilliant? I mean, Tom and Peter were great as well. I knew they would be. But Sarah, you were fantastic, and you should definitely be doing more of that on camera and on stage, I think. But yeah, it was a privilege to do. An industry first, as far as I'm aware, and I hope something we can do something along similar lines in the future. Good fun.
Yeah, it's good to have their expert take on things, as well as from the journalist Peter as well. So what's the consensus? Is it to buy a motorhome now?
Yeah, I mean, the future looks good. It was interesting to get Peter's insight on costs, the fact that he predicts are going to keep going up, and the general consensus was it's a great time to buy a motorhome. It's an expensive time to buy a motorhome. That's the challenge. And, of course, the audience that buys them is changing. So the silver pound is disappearing. Big pension payouts, huge profits from mortgages being paid off and houses being sold. Those days are going. Will they come back again? Probably not. So the way people have to look at funding a motorhome is changing, and the demographic is changing, and we're seeing that in the product, haven't we? This week at the big NEC show, we are in for some treats, I think, with some real innovation at the show. That the products being launched that are kind of reacting to this changing audience that want to buy a motorhome and camper van. So, yeah, it's an interesting time, and I think it's a great time to be buying a motorhome.
Yeah, the 30-somethings are becoming 40-somethings, aren't they, and thinking about coming into the market. Now, I know that's a massive generalisation, so don't get in contact and say, I'm a 30-something and all the rest of it, but you know what I mean, the general trend. There's an old saying in sales, isn't there, you can't buck a trend. But that is the trend, isn't it? And at the NEC show, we're going to see a lot more big fat tyres, aren't we, and a lot more camouflage.
Yeah, the press releases that have been going out have been interesting. They seem to be mostly about off-road capable vehicles, and it's a trend. And I think it is a trend. Maybe it's a fad. I don't know, but I think there's a desire for these vehicles to look cooler than they have before.
Fad and fashion equals passion. This is what I always say. In fact, that's just the first time I ever said it. So.
What a chat-up line.
There you go. So thanks for our guests there. Thanks for the insights. Much appreciated. It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you with thatleisureshop.com. It's one of our favourite parts of every podcast, and it's proved to be a favourite with you as well. Much appreciated. Our audience questions and answers. You ask the questions, Matt will answer them, and if he can't, he'll jolly well find somebody who can.
I'll try.
So first of all, Jackie Dobson got in touch.
Hi, Matt. I just enjoyed your recent episode on the IQ mobile SIM. There was one point, though, that wasn't clarified when you had your guest speaker on, was the fact that it says in their leaflet that you can only use the SIM for 3 months in any 1 year. So if you are planning to use your 90 days in 180 twice, i.e. do 2 trips to the EU for 3 months, could you clarify whether you are going to need 2 separate IQ mobile SIMs? Thank you.
There you go, Matt. So, will you need 2 SIMs or not?
Yeah, people do this, Jackie. That's right. You would need to buy 2. And the phone number that's on the SIM is irrelevant. No one cares about that because you're just going to shove it into a Wi-Fi router. But yeah, it would only last 90 days, so you would have to buy a second one. And IQ Go have lots of customers that do exactly this to beat that Brexit limitation on us of 90 days and want to go twice and go for 180 in a year. 2 SIMs are required. But the bigger news with IQ Go is their change in policy. So only a few weeks ago, IQ Go announced that there is now a data consumption restriction when you're in Europe, and you can only use 25% of the data you're given on that SIM card. So this is a network operator restriction on IQ Go. This is not from IQ Go, so this is a restriction that is affecting Poppit, Smarty, all of them are subject to this restriction, and it's a new industry trend, and it's a real shame because IQ Go in its pure form was absolutely fantastic because you got all this data that you could use in Europe. So now the solution really is to either suffer that and accept the fact that you've got 100 gig data allowance, you can only use 25 of it whilst you're on the continent, or you buy a local SIM when you're there and use that. So when you're in Belgium, buy a Belgian, that's quite hard to say, buy a Belgian SIM and a French one in France, and so on, and buy a SIM for that country. But yes, a real shame. I've been in contact with IQ Go discussing this at length with them, and they are hopeful that they can launch a new product that will go back to the old ways of unlimited data. So there's no cap on how much of your data allowance you can use.
And do we know why this has happened from the providers?
I don't know why it's happened. It's a network operator that IQ Go provide. They've caused this, and I guess it's more and more people are buying a SIM card in the UK and using it in Europe, and they want to charge more, I suppose. I guess it's a commercial decision by the network operator, and IQ Go and all the others have fallen foul of it. So, and ultimately, so is the consumer, because we don't get to use all the data like we used to.
So just explain to me, as somebody who's as thick as 2 short words, I've got to buy, if I want to use 25 gigs when I'm on my travels, I've got to buy 100 gigs.
Correct. Yeah, you can only use 25% of what you buy.
So the price has gone up by 4 times or 3 times?
100 gigs, I think, I can't remember how much it is, £30 from memory.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would now have to, if you want to use 100 gig, you'd have to buy 4 of those.
Right, I'm with you. So okay, yeah. It's complicated, isn't it?
It is complicated. It's an absolute can of worms, which is why the IQ Go episode we did with James from IQ Go was so interesting. It's a big change. It's going to affect all of us, I'm afraid, until they manage to launch a new product.
Yeah, you've got to understand for the providers, when they put their cells up and they have their computers all running, basically they've got big buckets of bits and you take your share of it. I suppose if there's lots more people coming on, that bucket of bits is going to get smaller, it's going to get slower and slower, isn't it?
I love the technical term, bucket of bits. It's back to your pants and socks again.
It is. Don't talk about my pants. Jackie Ayres, another Jackie's been in touch. Hi, we currently have a motorhome which we love. We're seriously thinking of buying a new motorhome, possibly one that has no mileage, but maybe from previous year. So she wants to buy something with low or no mileage, but manufactured a year earlier. That's to take advantage of the current discounts that are on offer. Should we be concerned about buying a new motorhome with 0 miles that may have been sitting on a dealer's forecourt for a year? We were also wondering what the advantages and disadvantages are for buying an A-class motorhome rather than a C-class. Is the A-class is the big American style?
Yeah, looks a bit like a bus.
Yeah.
So when you say American style, I know what you mean.
With a 12-grand windscreen.
A big windscreen price if you break it. And yeah, so just answering that bit then of your question, Jackie, And an A-Class, you look cool when you arrive on a campsite. Everyone's going to turn their heads and go, wow, look at them. But the big risk with an A-Class is you break the windscreen, and they aren't cheap. Trying to source one could be a challenge. It depends what windscreen it is, what motorhome it is. And the other big concern I always have driving an A-Class are the wing mirrors, because they can be £1,000 each. And rather than being attached to some metalwork, they're attached to the bodywork of the motorhome. So in an A-Class, that GRP body goes all the way to the front. And if you clip them on a tree or a signpost, it can do untold damage to the bodywork. So it's not just £1,000 mirror. It could be, a couple of £1,000 of body repair and respray if the mirror rips off the body. So that's my big downsides of an A-Class. They are generally more expensive to buy, often more expensive to insure as well. And the only extra space you get is around the driver's seat, around the cab. There is no extra space in the living area. It is only perceived to be extra space.
It's not like Meet the Fockers, where Robert De Niro drops down into his secret CIA office.
With his lie detector machine. Yeah, I love that film. I mean, that's a classic A-Class, isn't it? That's a huge, great thing. We don't tend to have them that big here in the UK. But I would say the big difference is the cost and the pose value. I mean, that's they look lovely, but they are more expensive to repair if you have a problem.
So what about the C-Class then?
So a coach built, that's a normal cab at the front. So the original Fiat, Peugeot, Citroen, Mercedes, whatever the cab make is at the front, and the body's put on the back. So it's driving a van when you're driving it. Essentially, it's exactly the same as the original van, and then the body is wider at the back. That's the big difference. I've had both. We currently have a small van, an Adria Twin, and I think we should do an episode on this, because I've had a few people ask questions about why did you go from A-Class to van conversion and the merits and benefits of both. And I think it would be an interesting one to unpack. So I'm up for doing that if you are.
Oh, I'm up for it, always. I'll wear me clean ones. So what about the main core of the question here?
Age,
Yeah, the age of it. I mean, when you buy a car, if you do that, then your MOT comes around quicker, doesn't it?
Only if it's pre-registered. So
right.
The MOT is 3 years from the first date of registration. So what Jackie's asking is buying an unregistered motorhome that might have been sat in the dealership for a year.
Yes.
But Jackie, remember, this motorhome may have been sat in the factory and in a port for a further year. So the chassis itself could be 2 or more years old by the point you buy it. So the issue is bigger than you state. So one of the ways to find out, and the big question is how do I find out when the chassis was built, is check the tyre age. Have a look on the tyre wall. We've talked about this before. Look for that little lozenge shape, and it has 4 numbers in it. The first 2 are the month, the second 2 are the year of the tyre manufacturer. So for example, it could say 0620, and that tyre is 4 years old already, more than 4 years old, because it's June 2020 is when that tyre was made. So check the tyre age, that's key. And battery condition would be the other thing I consider. A leisure battery is probably going to survive, sat for some time unused, but the starter battery may not if the van's been started, stopped, and then stood around without any real recharge going in it. So just talk to the dealer. And make sure they're checking these things for you. And I'd also consider, we always give this advice, is buy locally. Make sure you're buying from a dealer that's close to you, because if you do have a problem, you're probably going to have to go back to that dealer, and you don't want to be travelling 200 miles for that. So each way, that would just be a pain. So if you bought locally from a dealer near to you, if you had a problem, then it would be a much easier resolve for you.
In the olden days, Matt, we used to talk about, sold with delivery mileage, 100, 150 miles on it.
Yeah.
But you really don't want to be buying something that has been sat around with like 10 miles in it, because it's a machine. It does need to be taken around the block. Like you say, it does need to be run for half an hour so the starter battery can recharge. Or am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Wear and tear does happen even when they're sat still. And of course, it depends where the dealer is as well. If you're buying from a dealer on the south coast, then salt can be more prevalent. And if you really are concerned, have an independent inspection done of it. I'm sure most dealers, reputable ones, would permit that. And if you express why you're concerned, you could get one of these industry inspectors to come and look at it. The AA, the RAC offer them. They will only look at the chassis and engine. They won't know a thing about the habitation side, and you would have to trust the dealer to be checking that for you. But you'll see corrosion on discs, you'll see corrosion on suspension parts underneath. Get underneath it and have a good look. And if you're concerned, talk to the dealer and see what they can do about it.
Yeah, I know we've spent some time on this already, but just a quick supplementary. You talked about the habitation side. If something has been sat around for a while, what are the things you need to be looking for on the habitation side?
Yeah, I mean, all those appliances are they'll function perfectly well if they've been sat around. And again, the dealer should be doing a really, really good pre-delivery inspection to ensure that everything is functioning. And that's why I say pick a dealer that's close to home, because if there is a problem and you're going back under warranty, then it will be a much more convenient trip for you. And the warranty starts at the point you take delivery. So you mentioned the date of first registration. If it's registered tomorrow, we're here in October 2024, that's when it's registered. But of course, we know the van's older than that. But everything starts from the date of registration. So the MOT comes in 3 years' time. The warranty starts from the date of registration. But yeah, just get the dealer to check things over and express your concern if you have one, and they'll do their best to address it.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks for that. Peter Lethbridge is in Dartford. Hi, Matt. I'm new to motorhoming. Could you tell me what the longest period in between using the motorhome should be before you need to sterilise the freshwater and the waste tanks?
That's a really good question, Peter. I think it would depend how often you're using it. So the water in a fresh tank generally is a black container under a seat. The sun has no exposure to it, or it rather has no exposure to the sun. And so that stops bacteria forming in it. I would say it's very much personal choice. We tend to do our own motorhome 2 or 3 times a year, the fresh tank this is. And I would put some treatment into the freshwater tank 2 or 3 times a year, rinse it around and drain it out. If you find the water's tasting funny, that would be a clue, because it depends where the water's come from that's gone in it. So if you filled up from a stream, that's not going to be
or
very
a water
good.
butt. I did that once with
Really?
I once filled up with a water butt just for me windscreen washers in my car, and that was fine for the first 2 days. Day 3 and 4, there was this funny smell going throughout the car, and I had to get a big bottle of sterilising liquid, because I'd taken it from a source which I didn't think at the time.
It's full of bacteria.
Yes. And they smell once they get going.
I bet it smells horrible. But the really important, don't use Milton in your fresh water tank. I know we wash babies' bottles with it, the teats on the bottles and so on, and we can ingest it. It really is not friendly to your Truma boiler heater element, so it will rot it. So don't use Milton. There are specialist chemicals. PuraClean is one that's been around for a very, very long time, and we're really excited to announce that Solbio, the toilet chemical I love that's completely environmentally friendly, are launching a new range of chemical, or products I should say. They're all vegan and vegetable and plant-based, and they're launching a freshwater tank cleaner as one in the range. We will be testing that very soon. We've got a test bottle here, and we're going to be giving it a go, and we will be selling it at thatleisureShop.com. So keep in tune with us here, and we'll tell you when that's available. So yeah, I would be doing it 2 or 3 times a year, unless you feel you want to do it more often. On the wastewater, we often treat that after every trip. We will pour some Solbio down each sink trap, the shower and both the kitchen and bathroom sink. Close the waste tap, pour some in, leave it in there for 24, 48 hours, and then drain it out. And that keeps our waste tanks smell-free.
We'll give you some details in just a moment's time on how you can get in touch, but thanks, Peter, for your question. We're off to the NEC, to the big show. Hall 9, stand 32, that's 9.32. Like I said, we've packed our clothes, and I'm going to be making some sandwiches as well. Come along and see us, and like I said before, we'll do selfies, and we'll even do happy birthdays for you if you want. Come along. Happy birthday to you. And we won't charge like everybody else charges. Brad Pitt might charge for it, but I don't. Okay.
You'll be paying them to do it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So if somebody wants to get in touch, what should they do?
We would love it. If you have a question, you can ask it at mhmp.info/askmatt. Click the little orange button and record it, and we'll play it in, or fill out the form and we'll read it for you.
And if you're looking for trusted brands and services, then make sure you visit the Motorhome Matt approved directory. That's at mhmp.info/approved. mhmp.info/approved. That's products and services that Motorhome Matt himself is willing to stand behind, put his stamp of approval on. So if you're looking for something, consult that first, and you'll get a really good guide.
There we are. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. Loads of our viewers are not subscribed. So would you mind helping us by clicking the subscribe button and click the little bell? Brought to you by arabasecreative.co.uk.